It's been years since a point guard has excited me the way that Ja Morant does. So let's break down the art of his handles and what makes them so effective. For starters, Ja's always using his handles to control the pace. And with this comes some overlooked parts of handles. Number one, changes speed. That's how he really takes advantage of all that athleticism he has, is he's not always just going as fast as he can. He plays slow, and when the moment calls for it, then he plays fast. We'll get more into how he's able to play that way without getting the ball stolen throughout this video. But one of the things he'll do is he uses his eyes exceptionally well. He'll either A, look at a teammate to create an opportunity for himself to attack and score, or B, he'll look to attack and score with his handles to open up a teammate. That's constantly buying him time because it makes it hard for defenders to commit too much one way or the other, taking a lot of mental and physical pressure off of him. But that all starts with plays like this that don't seem like a highlight reel play because, well, it isn't. He just hits the open teammate. But hitting that open teammate opens up opportunities for him to drive in the future because that gives his teammates more gravity, and now the help defense can't commit to him as much. And that also makes these fake passes that he's so good at using work a lot better. And you'll see him do some of these pass fakes at unpredictable times and even slow down at unpredictable times on a fast break to set up those pass fakes. But with Ja using his eyes and his handles, it comes down to more than just faking out defenders to get opportunities to drive or to score. It's also his ability to look at the big picture. He's always aware of where teammates are, where help defense is, where there's open spaces, when there's picks coming and how to leverage those, and he always knows who's open. Doing those things ahead of time while he's dribbling allows him to use his eyes more effectively to deceive defenders, and it allows him to read situations more quickly. That's one thing a lot of younger players lack, is an awareness of what the court looks like so they can react quickly. It's Ja's fearless mentality and ability to react quickly that allows him to be so effective. A lot of times the thing holding players back from creating more off the dribble is that they don't react quickly. They see an opportunity and then they think about it, and that millisecond is too long. With that awareness, Ja uses his handles to get to some unique spots on the floor and attack differently than a lot of players. You won't always see him going directly to the rim or directly for a step back. Watch how he takes his diagonal path across the court to get to that open space for a finish at the rim, and how he'll often get about halfway into the paint on the edge of the paint, and he'll use those areas to set up fake passes, floaters, and all kinds of different finishes. That gives defenders a different look that they're not expecting, so it makes him unpredictable and makes it harder for defenders to know how to guard him. Here's just one of the many ways that he'll take advantage of that vision and awareness. If he sees defenders with their back to him like here, he's going to attack towards that defender because he knows they're not paying attention to him and they're not in a good position to stop him. Outside of his eyes, there's one other big reason that he's able to play with pace without getting the ball stolen, and that is his off arm. Watch how when he gets close to a defender, he'll immediately start extending that arm to use it for protection. But he doesn't just use it to protect the basketball, he uses it to gain an advantage. Watch how he leverages that off arm to seal a defender and stay in front of them. You'll often see him do this with the arm straight, which you might want to be careful about because sometimes refs will call you for an offensive foul for that. If you keep the elbow bent, you'll be good to go 9.5 times out of 10. But you'll also see him use that off arm to create separation, like in this play. Now, so far we've talked about all the little things that most people wouldn't even think about as being part of handles, but let's talk about the actual skill with the rock. For starters, Ja has got a ridiculous bag of moves. And I'm not going to break down every move he has in this video because there's simply too many. But if you want me to break down some signature moves, drop a comment. At its core, there's a few things that we want to pay attention to more than anything. Number one, Ja is comfortable with the basketball anywhere around his body. Behind him, in front of him, to the side, tight, wide, below him, underneath his legs. That allows him, one, to protect the basketball from defenders, but two, fake them out. And three, as we mentioned earlier, read and react to situations quickly because no matter where the ball is around him, he's in control of it. Other big thing we got to talk about with Ja's handle is his left hand. It's ridiculous how many of his best highlights are going left, how often he goes left, and how well he can finish with his left. Again, if you want me to break down more about his finishing or his passing for that matter, drop me comments. But you'll see him often take this diagonal path across the court with that left hand. You'll see him kill the ball low. We'll talk more about that in a second with that left hand. And you can see he loves him some inside out dribble with that left hand, and he gets defenders bad with it. But outside of having a bag of moves with his hands, He's got a bag of moves with his feet. Watch how he uses his feet to stop on a dime, change directions, and sell fakes. Great example is here. He crosses over one way, adds a couple quick jab steps, and then sells a hard jab step the opposite way that he crossed over. You add that to the mix with all the other things we've been talking about, and it makes him really unpredictable and hard to guard, and allows him to adapt to any game situation. And also notice how he dribbles the basketball. More often than not, you see him dribbling at hip to shoulder height, which goes against what almost every coach will tell you, which is that you should always dribble at hip height or lower. But dribbling higher gives Ja a few advantages. Number one, a lot of defenders wait for the basketball down low to try to steal it there. So a lot of times there's more space up high to attack and beat defenders. Also, having that dribble higher allows him to pass more quickly and get into shots, layups, and floaters more quickly. Plus, it makes changes of height like this more effective because it sets up defenders to play him high, come upright, and relax, and then opens up spaces down low and allows him to attack while defenders are in a bad position. It also allows him to do a couple other things. Number one, take advantage of the footwork we just talked about. If he's dribbling higher, that means he can hang the ball a little bit longer. And if he can hang the ball a little bit longer, that gives him an opportunity to do more with his feet. And no, it's not a travel to take more than 2 steps during a dribble. Anything goes with your feet as long as it's a live legal dribble. So that higher dribble allows him to dig more into that bag of footwork moves that he's got. And the other thing he'll use a higher dribble for is to take advantage of his athleticism more. He's got that Russell Westbrook, Dame Lillard type of athleticism. And a higher dribble allows him to cover more ground within a dribble by freeing up his feet to move more. If he was always dribbling super low, it's hard to really explode with the feet because one, having the arms down low isn't exactly a very functional way of moving fast, but two, he would have to keep regaining control over the basketball multiple times really quickly, which doesn't give him full freedom of movement with his feet because he has to synchronize those with controlling the basketball. We'll talk more in a bit about how he uses that athleticism to his advantage, but first let's talk about how he also uses low dribbles. For one, we talked about how a change of height keeps him unpredictable, but two, if he gets into high traffic situations, you'll often see him kill the dribble low, like right here. That makes it a little bit harder for defenders to get to the basketball, and you'll often see him use these lower dribbles when he's attacking a big because they're not as comfortable playing in that lower space. And you'll see him kill it lower if a defender's pressuring him, if he loses the basketball, or he senses a defender could poke at it, and you'll also see him bring that off arm back out to protect it. Now let's talk about how he actually uses selective athleticism with his handles. More often than not, you won't see him just trying to beat a defender in a race to the rim. A great example is this play. He could have maybe beat DeRozan in an all-out race to the basket, but instead he tries to get in front of him where he can then leverage his body as protection for the basketball if he needs to. Plus that forced DeRozan to make a direction change while in an all-out sprint, which is difficult to do. Here's another example of how he uses selective athleticism. Like we talked about earlier, he's going to use that off arm to get in good position to where he knows he can attack and get past that defender, but even then he's going to try to seal them first before using that athleticism. So what you end up seeing more with his handles is bursts of quickness versus all-out athletic sprints. The other time you'll really see him use his athleticism is when he knows he has a speed mismatch, and usually that means he's got a big on him. But ultimately, anytime there's a player guarding him that's not as quick or athletic, he's gonna take advantage of that by using his speed more. Okay, but Ja's got all these skills, a bag of moves, and crazy athleticism. But how do you add all that to your game? Well, pinned to the top comment and also in the description, there's a free workout that will help you do both. And if you get that workout, I'll send you some follow-up tips to help you instantly improve your control over the ball. If you want to see more breakdowns like this of other players, comment who you want to see. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications to catch those videos. And be sure to grab that free workout from gethandles.com. Again, it's pinned in the comments and in the description. Make moves today.